Life will spin you, won't it? You got to be bolted into wisdom, and that's what that logo is attempting to represent. This is our second week in the book of Proverbs. Last week we kind of opened it up, and what we saw in a nutshell is that all of life is going to go in one of two directions. Either we're going to pursue Lady Wisdom, and we're going to make great decisions and find life at its best, or we're going to be seduced by the whore folly, and we're going to have a bad life. So that's kind of what we opened up last week. This week, what I want to do is I want to talk about discipline and adventure in discipline. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear about, but discipline, ooh, boy, that's really good. Well, be careful what you think about it, and be careful what you say about it, because it really is a good thing. And so if I'm able to communicate today what I really want to communicate to you, it's going to make you look at it differently. You're going to see it the way God sees it, and you're going to desire it in your life more than ever. So let me read to you the very first 7 verses of the book of Proverbs. How many are reading through it with us? You're reading book of Proverbs, a chapter a week. How many? Okay, we need to do better than that, okay? You need to do this with us as a body. It'll change your life. It gives you, I'm looking forward to it every morning now because I know many of you are doing it. So get in there, catch up. Won't take you 30 minutes to catch up with it like you should be and be on track and reading what all the rest of us are. But anyway, here's the first 7 verses of it. Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 1 says this: "These are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, King of Israel. The purpose," would you say purpose back to me? "The purpose of these Proverbs is to teach people wisdom and" what? Discipline. Wisdom and discipline. Listen, you can't separate those two. If you're a wise person, you are a disciplined person. If you're a disciplined person, then you are a wise person. And to help them understand wise sayings. Now, that just doesn't mean just to know what it means. It means that you understand it in a way that you've implemented into your life. Through these Proverbs, people will receive. What are we going to receive? We're going to receive the ingredients of wisdom. We're going to receive instruction in discipline, good conduct, doing what is right, just, and fair. Discipline is the key ingredient of wisdom. It's the center of wisdom. These Proverbs will make the simple-minded clever. How many's made some simple-minded decisions in your life somewhere along the way? Okay. Well, you didn't have to, This is what this is saying. We can be clever if we'll just get into Proverbs, right? These will give knowledge and purpose to young people. Young people, listen up. Parents, listen up. Get this into your children. It will help them from being seduced by the whore folly. Let those who are wise listen to these Proverbs and become even wiser. Even if you make good decisions in life, you can make better. And let those who understand receive guidance by exploring. Here's our adventure. Receive guidance by exploring the depth of the meaning of these proverbs, parables, wise sayings, and riddles. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, and I want everybody, please read this with me. Only fools despise wisdom and discipline. I think 4 of you read. Let's all jump in here. That was pitiful. I just want you to know that was pitiful. Let's do it now. Only fools despise wisdom and discipline. So if you said something when I said we're going to talk about discipline today, you said, ooh. We need to wise up. We need to get this. We need to understand this. So let's go on an adventure for the next 30, 40 minutes or something like that. And let's see what God has for us today and learn this and see what there is in this discipline thing. So Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 23 tells us how we're going to get to where we want to go in life. It says, "For these commands are a lamp. These teachings is a light." This teaching is a light. "And the corrections of discipline are the way to life." Now, let me give you sort of an image here of what it's wanting you to see. Like walking in the woods at night, you're trying to follow a path, but there's no moonlight, there's no starlight. It's just dark, cloudy. and you don't have a light. But what it's saying here is like you can turn the flashlight on. You can get a lamp. And that's what the sayings of Proverbs and what discipline will do in your life. It becomes a lamp and a light for us. And also, it helps us make better decisions for our family and for people that are around us. Proverbs 10:17 says, "He who heeds discipline shows the way to life." You become a light. Shows the way to life, but whoever ignores correction leads others astray. Now, parents, you can lead your family astray if you're not a disciplined person. You can lead your friends astray if you're not a disciplined person. And when you get around undisciplined people, it's like we said last week, if you hang out with dogs, what happens to you? You get fleas. And so we can get with the wrong people and go in the wrong direction, or we can get with the right people, wise people, make ourselves wise, and go in the way of life, the path of life. Proverbs 13:18 says this, "He who ignores discipline comes to poverty." Poverty and shame. But whoever heeds correction is honored. Now, God doesn't make us be disciplined people. But if you're not disciplined in any area of life, you're going to come to poverty, shame, and dishonor. Just use your finances, for example. The reason that you don't have money, the reason that you haven't got some money put back is because you've not been wise with your finances, and therefore you're threatening poverty. The reason that anything in life, whether it's moral issues or whether it's your integrity, if we bankrupt in those areas, if we go into poverty in those areas, it's simply because we were not wise, we were not disciplined. Actually, the only areas in your life or my life where we are failing is where we're not disciplined. I don't care if it's your marriage. I don't care if it's your finances. I don't care if it's your work. I don't care what it is. If you are disciplined in an area, you will be successful there. Even, the word discipline, it gives us all these negative emotions and these negative thoughts. We think about a child being spanked, or a teenager being expelled from school, or maybe being grounded, or maybe a soldier in the army being yelled at by a sergeant. We think of all these negative things. We think of all these rigid rules and all these boundaries. You see, that's just the very small initial parts of it. What it's intended to do is bring it to a positive place. I was thinking about this. Let me give you just a couple of quick examples here of the positive. How many remember not long ago when Captain Sullenberger landed that jet airplane into the Hudson Bay? You remember that? Well, you can thank discipline for that. The reason that was a successful thing is because he disciplined himself, spent all those hours in that flight simulator learning how to do that if something like that when it were to happen. We were flying back from either Haiti or Trinidad one time, and we hit a wind shear. And that plane went, I don't know if you've ever had experience that plane went, and your stomach goes up here, and you're waiting for the airbags to fall down. You just know you're dead, and but the pilot, who was disciplined, and I thank God, knew what to do. And so and then a surgeon, for example, you don't want somebody undisciplined that hasn't been through school of surgery cutting on you. You want somebody that's disciplined there. And you'll thank God for the hours that he spent in the books and learning a procedure and disciplining himself to learn how to do this. So what I'm wanting us to see is that what discipline does is to bring us to a place of good, of positive. And the reason you discipline your children is because you want to bring them to a place of positive. So that's the way discipline is to work out in all of our life. The truth of the whole thing is that a successful person that you know, anyone you know that's successful, found the secret power of discipline and applied that to his life or her life. And it wasn't pleasurable at the time. It's not pleasurable disciplining your finances and not running up credit cards and overexpending and spending more than I have when I want to buy something. But if I discipline myself, I get to enjoy that money and a lot more of it later. And so there's a discipline in every single aspect of life. And if you look at any goal achieved by any person that you know, then what you will find is that person achieved that goal, achieved that dream because they learned the power of discipline. So I want to break this down for us today, and I want to give you maybe 4 good thoughts here as quickly as I can about how this thing works out in our life. And so the first thing I need to kind of project to you and ask you is, do you have any goals in life? Do you want to go anywhere in life? Do you want your life to matter, this one and only life that you've got? Do you want it to matter so that you will need discipline? You know, a lot of people will just meander through life and not mean anything. Their life doesn't matter. They come and they go and they just really didn't mean anything. And I don't mean to say that in a mean-spirited way. That's not my intention. But it is. If you're not going anywhere in life, you don't want to do anything in life, you don't want to have a good life, then this lesson is not for you. Just think about something else while I'm talking. But if you want your marriage to work, if you want your finances to work, if you want to go someplace in life, then you need to heat up. And you need to realize that you really need to learn about discipline. And you need to apply these points that we're going to be talking about into our lives. We need to apply these things if we want a successful marriage, or if we want financial security. If we want to grow in God, it takes discipline. So He'll use us when the opportunity comes. It's developing discipline. So you're not going to get where you want to go in life without discipline. It's just that simple. Anybody that you know that is successful, you can take an athlete. He became an athlete because of discipline. Take a musician. He became or she became a musician because of discipline. You take a salesperson. They become a good salesman or saleswoman because of discipline. You take a good leader, a good preacher, a good pastor, anything you want to take. They became successful because they disciplined their lives so that they could get there. So, first of all, are your goals in life lofty enough to need discipline? If they are, then let's go on and let's start applying some of these things that we're going to be talking about. Let's take a look at the core. This is the second thought that I want to give us. Let's take a look at the core, the very central part of discipline. What makes discipline really work? Without this, you're not going to have discipline in your life. And I want to call it delayed gratification. Now, what I'm talking about here with delayed gratification is simply that you deal with the tough stuff now so that you can enhance the experience of it, of the good part, later. And let me give you a couple of examples. My third grandson, Michael Lance, we're hoping he's going to work into this, but here's my story: is that they were with us one day. We were all together, and Michael Lance wanted some M&Ms, and so his daddy Lance said you can have 2. I looked at him, 2 M&Ms? That's just teasing him, So he goes and he gets him 2 M&Ms. Now he's using this delayed gratification thing, and he takes that M&M and he just nibbles on it. He makes those 2 M&Ms last about 15 minutes. He's working this in, man. I'm going to stretch it out, this good stuff, and that's kind of what we're talking about. But it's like a toddler, a child. He's having a birthday, and then his mom cuts him a piece of chocolate cake, gives it to him. Now, in delayed gratification, what the child will do is eat the chocolate cake first so that he can eat the icing, the frosting later. Now, Now, Judy says she always eats the icing first, but that's kind of not where I want to go with, because she's a disciplined person. But we all understand that principle, right? We've all experienced a little bit of that. I can remember I was raised in the generation where you cleaned your plate. and you had to clean that plate. And so, Mama would give us the balanced stuff that we were supposed to eat, and we had to clean up that stuff. Well, before I could get dessert or before I could go out and play, I had to clean my plate. Before I could get the icing or the frosting that I wanted to experience, later I had to get the tough part done first. And so I would always eat my vegetables first. Let's get them out of the way. That's delayed gratification. Then I could enjoy more of the stuff that I enjoyed, but really I wanted to go play or I wanted to go do something else. So that's what I'm talking about. That's delayed gratification. And unless you see it that way, that you got to do some tough stuff so that you can get to the icing. If you eat the icing first, and we're going to talk about it later, you're going to look back at your life and say, I'm just ruined it. I just messed it up. Now, let's take this same person learning this delayed gratification. They become a school student. They become a student in school. And so when they come home from school, they have homework. But rather than going out and playing and then, getting tired and all that, they just dive in. They attack homework and they get their homework done and get that out of the way. Get that tough stuff done. So later on now, they're able to go out and play or stay up a little later and watch television or play games or do the computer or talk on the telephone or do whatever they want to do. And they don't have to get up the next morning all stressed out and saying, I forgot to do my homework. And they go to school, they make good grades. They're learning, they're prepared, they're ready. And they start eating, you see, the frosting because they done the tough stuff first. And so they're starting to learn this delayed gratification thing. So let's take this person now, send them through college. They're learning and they make good grades because they're preparing themselves. And this delayed gratification thing, they're studying, they're studying. And so they make good grades in school and they come out with a very good grade average, which sets them up to get a higher level job than somebody who comes out of college who didn't have a good grade level. You see? So they enter into the workplace at a higher level already. And they go in maybe at just an entry-level job, but they set the alarm at night. They don't trust that they're just going to wake up on time. That's an aspect of the delayed gratification. You set the alarm, you get up and go to work and decide that I'm going to do a good job. I'm going to make people take notice of me. And so they do a good job, they rise up the ladder, they get the pay increases, and so they're doing the tough stuff so that there's a delayed gratification. They start inputting into their retirement fund. They start putting some money back into a savings account. They take 10% of their income and they bless the kingdom of God with it and give tithes, offerings, and alms, set up, stay out of debt, don't overspend. And so they do this for 35 years. In this 35 years, they've excelled in their work occupation because of this delayed gratification thing. They've got them some money set back. In 35 years comes, it's time to retire. Looks back at his financial situation, got hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, do anything. It's time for the frosting. It's time. We've done the vegetables. We've done all the other stuff. Now I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars that I can do whatever I want to do with. I can go anywhere I want to go. I can do anything I want to do. That's delayed gratification. And this is at the core of discipline. The reason that you discipline yourself, the reason that you discipline, anyone disciplines themselves, is so that down the road they can enhance the experience that they desire to have. Delayed gratification. Now, delayed gratification works in all the way across the board. You could take any area of life and see this. How about physical health? You see, it's not fun to exercise. It's not fun to maybe go to the gym or stay busy in the yard getting some exercise, especially when you start getting a little older. And it's not fun to watch your weight. It's a lot more fun to sit down and gobble it all up and to not eat the frosting first. It's not fun to go for physical checkups. I'm telling you, it's not fun to have a colonoscopy. It is not fun. But doing delayed gratification first makes the future possible. If you eat all the icing, all the frosting first, you may not have a future. Blood pressure, cholesterol. So delayed gratification. Now, people who eat the frosting first, here's what happens to them. Let me read this to you, Proverbs 5:11. At the end of your life, you'll groan. When your flesh and body are spent, it's too late. You may still want to do it, but you're physically not capable of doing it. Your body is spent. Your flesh is spent. You're too old now. It's too late. And so you'll look back and you'll say, how I hated discipline. See, that was the key. That was the secret. How I hated discipline. How my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or listen to my instructors. Those people that were really trying to help you with delayed gratification. You wouldn't listen to them. I have come to the brink of utter ruin in the midst of the whole assembly. You know, I look around and at people who did delay gratification. They've got money. They're living on the beach. They're going where they want to go and do what they want to do. And I ate all my frosting first. And now I look around at all my buddies and they're okay, but I'm in ruin. This is what I'm talking about. See the difference of people who look back at life and groan, and those who look back at life and say, I did it. The only difference is discipline. Another component, so we got, have you got goals enough that you need discipline? And then we got the delayed gratification. Now the third thing I want to kind of throw at you is what I want to call advanced decision making. You make a decision in advance, you play it out in your mind so that when the situation comes up, you've already worked it out. You already know how you're going to respond to it. Judy and I, we did a sort of a pack years and years ago. We like to buy brand new cars. We just always have. And so, but we made an agreement together and that when we would go look at a new car, that we would not buy it that day. Now, you know how it is. You get in that new car, it smells so nice, and it drives so nice, it's so clean. You really want to drive it off. You don't want to even get back in the thing you drove in on, you know. And you really want, they make you this deal if you buy it today, right? But we decided that we weren't going to do that. And this has happened in a lot of things. We just didn't do it with cars. We did it in everything. We would get these invitations to come for these vacation, you know, these 2-week vacations. You get a condo for 2 weeks and you pay, you know. And boy, when you're there, you want to do it. There's a pressure there. There's a thing there that they put on you, and it sounds so good, and you want to do it. But we made this agreement. We were not going to do that. And the only time that I think that I broke it is I bought a car one time, I learned, one time without sleeping on it. And it was the worst car we ever owned. Yeah. So, but apply that to any area of life. And if you're reading the Proverbs, then you should be in chapter 7 today. And what you've been reading about in the last couple of chapters is a father doing this with his son. And what he's doing is he's telling his son from the mind of a man to a mind of a young man, saying, listen, you got to work this out in your mind before it happens to you. And the best way of you handling the seductions of an adulteress is to have it already worked out in your mind how you're going to respond. And the best way to respond is don't even go near her. That's the best thing. Stay away is what he's telling him. He says, here's what's going to happen to you, though. You're going to be walking down the street. The door's going to be open. She's going to say, hey, come on in. Come on in. My husband's gone on a long trip. I've got the bed all fixed up. Come on in and lay with me. And he says, you can't wait until you're in the face-to-face with that kind of a fiery temptation and expect to push it away. You can't do it. He says, so what you got to do is you got to run this through your head. You got to pre-plan it. You got to think it out. You got to make the decision in advance, ahead of time, so that you'll know how you're going to respond when this happens. And it's going to happen. So you got to plan it, think about it. How's it going to work out? If you do this, what's it going to happen? First of all, you're going to mess up your own conscience. First of all, you're going to have a bad conscience before God. You're going to have a bad conscience of yourself. You're not going to have the right kind of conscience with your spouse. You're going to run the risk of getting a sexually transmitted disease. You may have an unwanted pregnancy. You know, you're going to bust up your family. You're going to damage your children. You're going to mess up the relationship with your grandkids. He says, run this through. Think about it. Plan it before it happens, and then that way you'll be able to have the right answer when it happens. He says, flip it over, drink it through the other way. You stay like you're supposed to, and you avoid these kind of temptations. You have a good conscience before God, before your spouse, with yourself. You don't run into the possibilities of sexually transmitted disease. You're not having unwanted pregnancies. You're not going to bust your family up. Your children are going to honor you and adore you. Think about it. He says, have that worked out in your head before it ever happens. And he says, and then that way you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to give the proper response for it. Here's what he kind of works it out in Proverbs chapter 5 and verse 8. It says this, keep your distance from such a woman. In other words, work this out. Stay away. Know that this is what's going to happen. Stay away. Absolutely stay out of her neighborhood. You don't want to squander your wonderful life, to waste your precious life among the hard-hearted. He says, go ahead and make your mind up in advance to stay away, to keep your distance from that situation. And this is a father warning his son, knowing that he's going to have this temptation. Go ahead and make the decision in advance. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 26 says this, for by no means of a whorish woman a man is brought. Let me start over. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. He's made toast. That's what happens when this happens. It's a Hebrew saying, you're toast. And this is what he's saying here. You're reduced to nothing. And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. What wisdom is telling us here is that few people, once in the middle of this fiery temptation, are really able to push back from it. And if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. Here's what he says in Proverbs 6:27. Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned? Can you play with fire? Can a man walk on hot coals without his feet being scorched? See, you can't play with fire. And you have already predetermined that you're not going to play with fire. You're not going to scoop up fire and put it on your clothes. You've already determined you're not going to take your shoes off and walk across hot coals. You've already predetermined that in advance. It's not a decision you got to make once you're there. And it's that way in life. In the same manner, he says, go ahead and make your mind up. So in advance, when these trials come at you, when these temptations come at you, whether spending money, or you can apply it to anything you want to, getting up and going to work or laying out or doing whatever that you need, wherever you want to put it. But when the temptation's there, you're probably not going to be able to push back from it. But if you'll go ahead and predetermine in your mind, then when you've already got the answer, and you can back off from it. Don't walk in your fiery test of that. You're going to walk into those coals, and they're going to burn you. You're going to play with fire, and you're going to get burned. Going to burn up your covering. Going to burn up your walk in life. He says, stay away from that. Go ahead and figure it out in advance. You're not going to go near it. Now, parents, we talked earlier how that the Proverbs will give young people wisdom. Listen, you need to get your children into Proverbs, and you need to sit down with them and help them predetermine in advance decisions that they're going to face. Go through it with your child. What do you do if a stranger approaches you? Run through it. Pre-decide it in advance. What do you do? Work out with your teenager. What do you do when peer pressure comes along and offers you drugs? All your friends are doing it. They got fleas. No, I don't want that. You work through it. Work out with your son the problems of getting in the back seat with a girl and having an unwanted pregnancy. Go ahead and work that out. Talk to your daughter. What will you do? What will you say? Why will you say it? When you find yourself in a parked car on a dark road, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to this? Have you already got it worked out? Do you know what answer you're going to give? See, we got to get this. And also, parents, you need to take advantage of stuff that the church offers. See, back there, they've got these video programs, these video things that come on every week, and they teach them what to do. They talk about these kinds of things. The student ministry does this. This is the kind of stuff they talk about in student ministry. Your kids need to be here. They need to be a part of this so that they can develop this foundation in their life so that they won't stumble in to the fiery testings and temptations that you know they're going to face. Your daughter's going to face that one day. Your son is going to battle with that one day. What are they going to do? One of the main reasons that any of us fall when we're tempted is we didn't mentally prepare in advance for the situation. Disciplined people set alarm clocks. And they do it in advance the night before. It's about that simple. You see, they're already predetermined, I'm going to work tomorrow. It might be raining. I might not feel good. I'm not going to wait, though, and just trust my body to wake up on time to go to work. I'm going to set the alarm clock. Disciplined people don't wait for Sunday morning to decide if they're going to go to church. Disciplined people don't wait to get to church to decide if they're going to worship. Disciplined people don't wait till they get to church to see if they like the message before they write their giving check. You see, it's already decided in advance. No, I want to go there. To get there, I have got to discipline myself here, and I've got to eat the vegetables first so that I can experience the joy of what I want to experience later. And you got to determine that in advance. Now, I want to just tell you just a little bit about me. You see, I've learned about myself, and that if I don't discipline myself, I'll fail. Whatever. If I don't discipline myself with it, I will fail. And so I know this about me, that if I don't spend time with God on a consistent basis, and I mean that every day, then something happens to me. I get into this dark vein. My fuse is short. I get angry easy. I say rough and mean things to people. My mercy level just bottoms out. Compassion, don't have it. I don't like me. And I've learned that about me. I'm not a good pastor. I'm not a good person. And so I've learned 25 years ago that I have got to discipline myself, that has to be a part of every day of my life. And so I do it. Every morning I get up, I'll get ready, I'll get dressed, and I'll go down and I'll get my coffee, and I come down and I go into my study, and I'll crank up my laptop, and while it's booting, I'll come in here and I'll walk and I'll pray and I'll talk to the Lord with my coffee. And I'll remember where you're sitting, and I'll stop and I'll pray for different ones nearly every morning. Then eventually I get back into my study, I kick my feet up, get my laptop on my lap, and I start reading and writing and just enjoying the presence of the Lord. It makes me a different person, but I know that about me. If I don't discipline myself, I fail. And I know this. See, the main thing that I do is sermon preparation. It's the most difficult thing I do. It's the most difficult thing I do, but at the same time, it's the most fulfilling thing I do. Above all, it's the most important thing I do. So I have to have discipline to do this, and it takes several hours a week, every week, hours and hours, just to prepare a 30-minute talk that will hopefully help you. And I heard someone say this one time, that what you do is you give your best hours to the most significant thing you do. And so my best hours are like from daylight until about 11 o'clock. And so I discipline myself to do that. I give it its best because I want to be a good preacher. I want to be a good pastor. I want to be successful. So many aren't. And the reason they're not is they're just not disciplined. I've talked already about this some, but about the assembling together in church, and how disciplined people come. You discipline yourself to get to church. I want to read this to you. It's from the book of Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 25. It says, not forsaking, and I'm preaching to the choir here. I mean, it's raining. It's not good. I was expecting a very, very low crowd today. I'm glad to see everybody. So I'm preaching to the choir. I understand that, but I just want to show you the principle. Hebrews 10:25. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. In other words, not forsaking. Don't stop disciplining yourself. Don't forsake this. Keep this discipline in your life. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is. Some is. Some are not disciplined. But exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. See, here is where we get exhorted in a way we don't get it anywhere else. You can watch me on the internet, you can get the CD or the DVD, but it's not the same as being here. And you know it's not. We get exhorted, you exhort me. We come together and we exhort each other. Something special happens right here when you show up. And many of you, you don't know when God's going to break through. You may have had a bad week or a bad morning, fussing with the kids and the spouse, and things going crazy, and the weather and all this stuff. And you come in, you're just not ready to worship. But God somehow broke through all of that and touched your life and changed you in a way that changed everything. Some of you can take me to the very chair that you were sitting at where you received Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So some of you can take me to the chair that you were sitting in when God broke through and delivered you from an addiction or from something that was going on in your life, some sinful habit. Some of you can take me to the chair and show me where you were sitting when God broke through and gave you faith to chase your dream. And you would have missed it had you not disciplined yourself. Every day, every time, every Sunday we come here, something happens. Something's going to exhort us. Something's going to touch our life. See, when we were rearing our children, and just a young couple, and we were coming into the Lord and into the things of God, it was never optional if we were going to church on Sunday. It wasn't decided Sunday morning. It was decided years prior. And Bonnie, with all this hair, she couldn't wait for Sunday morning to wash all that hair. Where she got that hair? But she'd have to get prepared on Saturday night so that she'd be ready. Get your clothes laid out. I'm going to early. I'm not going to get there late. I want to talk to people. I want to fellowship. I want to see folk. I didn't wait to get to church to write my tithe check. I didn't wait to church to decide if I was going to worship or not. Those things were decided in advance. And now today, Judy and I are getting to eat some of those fruits. We're getting to eat the frosting. We're looking at our children and at our family and at the areas of our life where we made these predetermined, non-negotiable areas that we were going to do it this way. And now we're enjoying it because we disciplined ourselves back then. So I want to give you, those are three. Is your goals in life high enough? Do you understand the delayed gratification thing? Are you working here and understanding that you've got to pre-plan in advance these situations? Let me give you one more real fast, one more thought on this. And this, I want to call it the discipline of joy. Jesus was surely the most disciplined person that has ever walked this planet. When he was 12 years old, he was disciplined. It was a pretty ignorant society. They didn't have schools and all this stuff like we do now. But Jesus was able to have studied the Scriptures and know the Scriptures enough so that he could confound the lawyers of his day, the most educated people. How did that happen? Well, he disciplined himself to learn. For all of his life, Jesus was disciplined. But we think of discipline as being rigid in rules. But that wasn't what Jesus was. Jesus had the discipline of joy in his life. He never stopped going on walks with his buddies through the mountains or building a campfire and cooking fish together, and having just a camp out. He never scheduled out of his life of not going to marriage ceremonies, and having and being a big part of them. He never stopped going to like dinners, parties at night and having these times with his friends and stuff. He never scheduled out of his life the good things. And so Jesus enjoyed life. And I want to read to you from the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 22. It says here, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. See, the Bible never teaches us to schedule out fun and joy and merriment in our lives. It teaches us the opposite. Discipline it in. Eat some icing along the way is kind of what we're saying here. It's okay. Enjoy it. Have a merry heart, because if you schedule it out and you get down and you're real restricted on everything, then you're going to make yourself sick. You're going to be stressed out. You're inviting all kind of disease and problems into your life. No. Schedule it in there. Discipline it in there. And Proverbs 15:15 says, all the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. See, you schedule it in. Your life, you put into your life times where you have fun. Judy and I, we disciplined this into our life years and years ago. I think it was Randy Adler that kind of spoke this over us. He would take a month a year on a vacation, and we had never thought of anything like that. But we said, man, that'd be pretty cool. So we began to discipline our life. And what I'm saying, we had to discipline our finances so we could have the money to do it. We had to discipline our time, had to set it all up, had to work towards that goal. We wanted to get there, but we had to have discipline to get there. So we began to do that, and for years now, Judy and I, we'd take a month vacation. It's because of discipline. And we take several trips a year, just she and I, just because we need it. We need that joy in our life to maintain our relationship, to keep ourselves healthy physically, mentally, spiritually. But it's requiring discipline. And so you go ahead and plan and discipline into your life fun too. It's not just this rigid thing that you're going through life just disciplined out so that there's no fun. No. That's not what we're saying here at all. That's not what Jesus did, and that's not what the Scriptures teach. You need to have a time in your life. You disciplined back then so you can eat the frosting later. So what are some non-negotiable disciplines in your life? If you could list them. How are you with your finances? Are your finances non-negotiable, or is overspending an option? If it's an option, then it's not a discipline. How about your marriage? Is divorce an option? And I got to be careful how I say that. I know, because there are times when I'll say, hey, it might be better for you here. But you fight with it. You know what I'm trying to say here? You go ahead and predetermine it so that it becomes a non-negotiable thing. So is that? How about your work ethic? Is getting up and going to work, being there on time, doing a good job, is that optional? If it's raining or it don't feel good today, do you lay out? See, what are non-negotiable disciplines in your life? What in your life do you need to shore up? Where in your life are you not disciplined? See, a disciplined life must be planned. It just doesn't happen. You have to plan delayed gratification. You have to understand advanced decision making. And you have to plan into that thing the discipline of joy. Proverbs 13:18 says this, he who ignores discipline comes to poverty. We read it earlier. And shame. It's not a maybe. That's a fact. But whoever heeds correction is honored. When you heed discipline and you heed correction, you're pursuing the lady wisdom. If you're undisciplined, you've been seduced by the whore folly. And you are heading down a road of destruction. Your life is never going to be what it could have been. But if you will do it God's way, through the Proverbs, take these things and apply them to your life, you're going to find the path of life, and there is no limit to what God can do for you. Let's pray. Father, thank you for the word today. Thank you for your love for us, Lord, and how you just put it out here for us just to see. And Lord, I pray today that our hearts have heard it, our spirits have heard it, and our souls, our minds have heard it. And that, Lord, it's not just a time to come to church and hear another lesson, but Lord, it's something that we can ingest and cause to help us. I want your heads bowed and your eyes closed. How many of you, along with me, you have areas in your life that are really disciplined. You're really, really good at them. You're strong, man. You're very successful. But then there's other areas of your life where, you've been seduced by folly and you're not good there. And when the temptation comes around, you struggle with fighting it off. See, what the Lord is trying to say to all of us today is that I want to help you there. I want to shore this up. And if you'll let me work with you through this lesson on Proverbs, I'm going to strengthen you so that you can go ahead and pre-decide in advance. And you can handle these situations when they come. And they're coming. We all know they're coming. So if that's you, and you would just, along with me today, say, yeah, Delbert, there's areas that I'm really strong in. But man, there's some undisciplined areas in my life that I really need God to help me. And I want him to. So if that's you, would you, along with me, just agree together, raise your hand right where you're sitting and say, hey, that's me, got me, buddy. And then, see, there's a power in agreement. Hold your hand up. There's a power in agreement. If we agree together on this, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, Father, right now, in Jesus' name, we agree, Lord. Help us in the areas we need discipline. Show us, Lord God, how to do this. Delayed gratification, advanced decision-making, scheduling in, Lord God, times of joy and gratitude. But, Lord, help us develop these disciplines into our lives, Lord, that we can be a wise people and we will not be seduced by folly. Head still bowed and eyes closed. Now, some of you are not where you need to be with God, and you know it. Now, listen, that's the first discipline you've got to get. If you're not disciplined there, you got to get that. You need to get to church on Sundays, and you need to participate, and you need to grow in the things of God. You need to discipline yourself in prayer and reading the Word, participating in the body of Christ. You need to get there. But you know you're not where you need to be. So what you need to do is let the Lord minister to you. Maybe you've never received Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Man, that's a discipline you've got to have. You're just going to go to folly if you don't. But maybe you have, but you're just not where you need to be now. And if that's you, would you let me pray for you right where you're sitting? Right where you're sitting, would you raise your hand right now and just let me bless you? I see hands over here, hands over here. Any others? Any others? 3, 4. I see your hand.